sister and I sat at the dinner table. "Have you two done your chores today?" my mom said, breaking the silence. Nina proudly nodded whilst I said nothing. Mom raised an eyebrow at me. "My job is to fetch the clothing from the washing line outside. I had procrastinated all day, so I had to fetch them at night as punishment." I rolled my eyes and left the dining room. The moment I opened the back door, my knees trembled. The backyard was pitch black, and I could only make out the shape of the washing line, until my eyes caught something move. In the darkness, there was what I could only describe as an orb, and it seemed to be slowly moving closer. The night merely looked dull in comparison to this thing, which grew darker the longer that I stared at it. This object in the middle of the yard definitely wasn't an animal. It was the size of a dog, indeed, but it was perfectly round. My legs caught up to my mind and I raced inside. "I think I saw something outside," I said, panting. "Come on now, Rachel, it's probably just a cat," Nina said as she stood up. "I'll get the clothes myself." That was the last time I ever saw my sister alive. I should have stopped her, but I went straight to bed after finishing dinner. Minutes later, I was awoken by my panicked mother. "Rachel, wake up, I can't find Nina." By that point, my mother had already searched everywhere, but we searched a second time together. We even checked outside. No luck. After half an hour, it was time to call the police. As we anxiously waited inside, I had an idea. "Mom, she probably had her phone with her." My hand immediately swiped my phone from my pocket. I began calling. No answer straight away. Then the humming began. My sister's familiar, mellow ringtone arose in the house. We anxiously followed the music. We left the kitchen. The ringtone grew louder. It led us to the corridor. It grew louder. We entered Nina's room. It softened. We went into my bedroom. It was the loudest there. We flipped my bedroom upside down in a matter of mere seconds, throwing blankets and books around as we searched for the phone. There came a moment when my mother stopped looking and froze at the center of the bedroom. "Where is it?" I hissed out of frustration. "Rachel," my mother whispered. I turned my head from my desk and towards my mom. Her palm was clasped around her mouth and she was glaring at the ground with her eyes widened. She was petrified and I didn't yet understand why. My mother then dropped to her knees. Her head fell to the ground with her left ear fixed to the carpet. "Rachel, it's coming from underneath the house." I woke up, cramped, in a dark, confined space. I felt cramps surge throughout my entire body, feeling as if I had been laying in the same position forever. I screamed and clawed at the ceiling, scratching and picking until my fingernails bled and broke off. I used my feet and hands to kick at the wood, all the while knowing there was no use. Who the hell put me in here? How did I get here? I thought with rage and frustration. I decided to pound the wood one more time, and use my legs to kick and push the hardest I could ever do. I stomped, banging my sore and mangled feet against the wood, until the final blow managed to completely break through the wood, and I was too pumped with adrenaline to acknowledge the pain running through my foot. I looked up through the wood and saw darkness. I knew I couldn't be outside. It was too musty and damp to be out in fresh air. I managed to pull myself through the wood, climbing up on top of the auburn box. I clawed my way through the muddied walls, picking worms and bugs off me along the way. I used my fists to punch through the dirt as hard as possible, until I felt my hand break through and reach the soft grass. A cold breeze whisking through my fingers. It was the strangest feeling. I groaned as I used my head to break through the dirt, and pulled myself up onto the wet, dewy grass until I couldn't move any longer. I lay there, soaking in the earth, feeling the wind on my face. My white dress was almost brown with dirt, and a few bugs were still crawling up my legs. I rubbed my swollen wrists and noticed a shiny golden bracelet. Engraved in the bracelet were the words, "I will always love you, Dustin." Dustin? Who the hell was he? I don't know anyone. I looked to my left and noticed that there was a small rock next to the dirt I tore through. I leaned in closer to read the writing when my heart dropped in my chest. Fiona Holiday, love of my life, lasted 3 months, October 9th, 2018. No, that couldn't be me. If I died, wouldn't I remember? Then something clicked. I wasn't in a cemetery at all. I was in someone's backyard. There were no neighboring houses. This was completely isolated. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. Being dead sounded awful enough, but why was I in someone's backyard? Was I murdered? Do my parents know what happened to me? I tried to stand up, but I fell, my knees buckling beneath me. I crawled around, desperate to find something that would indicate where I was. I wondered if there were others. I reached out my hands, grabbing anything that wasn't grass, then came across 5 other rocks, all a couple inches away from each other. Casey Jones, love of my life, lasted 7 months, February 2nd, 2017. Vanessa Walters, love of my life, lasted 3 weeks, July 7th, 2016. Delilah Woods, love of my life, lasted 2 days, August 15th, 2016. Hannah Gomez, love of my life, lasted 1 year, November 22nd, 2015. Jessica Hansen, love of my life, lasted 7 years, April 12th, 2012. I covered my mouth and scooted back. This had to be a nightmare or some kind of prank. Surely there's not 5 other women buried here. The only way to find out is to dig. I cringed and carefully crept back towards one of the rocks. Casey Jones, I'm sorry for disturbing your sleep. I began to claw at the dirt until I reached a smooth, cold surface. It wasn't wood. There was no coffin. I grabbed at the object, pulling it up towards me, digging my bloody nails into the soft, cold rubber, until I realized that I had grabbed a hand. I screamed and dropped the hand, peering down into the hole. A half-skeleton/human lay there, in a floral blouse and shorts, a golden bracelet on her right wrist saying, "To the love of my life, Dustin." I felt sick. I turned over to the patch of grass next to me and puked my brains out. I gently grabbed some little flowers growing in the grass and laid them on her chest. "I'm so sorry," I sobbed. I scooped the dirt back over her corpse and patted it until it was firm. I laid the rock above her. Now, my next move would be to run. The backyard was chained up. There was no way I could leave. I couldn't climb very high. I decided to try prying open the back door. I know, stupid, but maybe I can convince Dustin he's dreaming. Much to my luck, the door was unlocked. I slowly slid it open and forced myself to stand up, and shakily tiptoed through the kitchen when something caught my eye. There were missing posters everywhere, all over his fridge. I crept towards the fridge and nearly fainted at the sight. All the girls, with their alive, smiling faces plastered on missing posters. I saw myself. Have you seen me? Fiona Elizabeth Holliday. Date of birth, July 1st, 2003. Age 15. Last seen wearing a white dress and red sandals on July 2nd, 2018 in Redacted, California. Description: green eyes, long blonde hair, height and weight 5'3" and approximately 110 pounds. I shakily grabbed at the poster and tore it to shreds. It suddenly dawned on me that I never found out how I died. I frantically looked around the room until I spotted a video camera propped up on a shelf. I managed to snag it off the shelf and open it up. My eyes were exposed to the most horrific and vile videos I've ever seen. He labeled each video Casey's catastrophe, Delilah's demise, Vanessa's vendetta, Jessica's jealousy, Hannah's hysteria, and mine, Fiona's fatality. They were homemade snuff films. There I was, drugged up and tied to a chair. "What did I do?" I cried in the video. "I'm sorry, my love, but I can't trust you anymore. You've tried to run away multiple times, and you blew every last chance," he cooed. His voice sent shivers down my spine in a way I can't even explain. I don't even want to explain what he did to me. I was stabbed multiple times in the chest, and then he broke my neck. I puked a little in my mouth and quickly turned the camera off. I slowly lifted up my dress and ran my fingers along my stomach and chest. Large, bumpy scars lined across my torso. I shuddered. The sound of footsteps thumping down the stairs made me jump. I stood, frozen with fear.
"Who is it?"
A gruff man's voice called out. He ran into the kitchen, baseball bat in hand, turning around and laying his eyes on me. "Miss me, Dustin?" I whispered.
Fiona? No. You're dead. Who the fuck are you?"
He cried. "I thought I was the love of your life, Dustin. Why did you have to kill me?" I mocked. He just stared.
"No, this isn't happening. I'm not having this conversation. I'm dreaming."
I slowly walked towards him. He clutched the bat tighter. He whimpered. "Shh," I cooed. I put my hand on his. "Let me just say one thing before you wake up," I said. He slowly nodded his head. I leaned in closer. "It's your turn." I yanked the metal bat from his trembling hands and began to smash it into his head, bashing his skull in, blood spraying everywhere. He withered to the ground, and I continued to smash until I physically couldn't any longer. I dropped the bat to the floor, grabbed the video camera and all of the missing posters, and bolted out of the house. It was dark, and I had nowhere to go. I was on top of a hill. I turned back and glanced at the house one last time before running off and trying to locate the nearest police station. If I told them what really happened, they'd call me crazy and brush me off. Or worse, send me off to a science lab to experiment on me. I concocted an elaborate and gory, but very believable and accurate story. All I had was my strength and my evidence, and maybe, I thought, I'll find my family again. The time traveler appeared in a brilliant flash of light. I dropped my bowl of cereal. "Don't be afraid," she proclaimed, taking off her helmet, letting her graying hair fall. "I'm you from the future." "What?" "I'm from about 37 years in your future, precisely 325,000 hours. I'm 57 years old now, which means you must be 20? 19. My birthday's tomorrow." "Great. Good. This is an unsanctioned visit, so unfortunately, I don't have authorization to change anything major." "What does that mean?" "Time is a little malleable at points, but everything someone like me does in the past has to be pre-evaluated by a committee so they can track all the possible ripple effects. Butterflies and hurricanes, you understand, right?" "I guess. And of course, if something were to cause a timeline where time travel were never invented, that creates a paradox which could shred the fabric of space-time. Theoretically, of course. Nobody's actually tried." "Uh-huh. I wanted to visit you the official way, but there's no way I would have been approved. You are too timeline critical. But I figured out a loophole. As long as I tell you everything you need to do in life, and you do it all perfectly, nobody will know the difference." Wait. You're telling me that you're here illegally to tell me that my entire life is a foregone conclusion, and that if I try to change anything, it'll maybe blow up like the entire universe? Hey, shh, we can't risk anyone hearing this conversation." I shot her a glare as she continued. "It's all stuff you were going to do anyways, and I can't change what happens to you, but maybe, with little luck, I'll be able to change how you feel about what happens." "What does happen to me?" "Tomorrow, your friends will take you to a party for your birthday. There, you'll meet a wonderful man. He'll have kind eyes and a warm smile, and you'll fall in love with him. In 3 years, you'll be married. 20 years after that, he'll be the first person to invent time travel." "What's he like?" The time traveler paused for a minute before continuing. I want you to know that he's trying his best. He's a brilliant man, but sometimes he's troubled. On his better days, he is so madly in love with you." She didn't answer. And then I asked the question I'd been dying to ask since she first appeared. "Where'd you get those bruises from?"